I was recently asked to make this small plaque, so I thought I'd take you through my process. Let's start with the drawing file. This was actually imported and modified in CorelDRAW and then brought over to VCarve Pro, as you see here. I used VCarve to create a couple pockets as well as some pilot holes for mounting. VCarve has the ability to give you a pretty good preview of what your carving is going to look like. I load the G-code files into Mach 3 and prepare to make my cut. The stock I'm using is 1/8 inch thick Sintra. It's just what I happen to have on hand. I'm using a very small 1mm diameter tooth flute end mill to make the cuts about 30 seconds deep. The 1mm bit has a 40% overlap, so it's going to take it a while. I did end up with some irregularities because the Sintra raised up in the center a little bit, but when it's finished, I don't think it's going to really matter much. But in retrospect, I probably should have used a vacuum table or some double-sided tape to hold the Sintra down. Something to note here is that I'm using a 1mm bit, and at 30 IPM it's okay in this material. If I were to use something harder like wood, I would probably have to do it in 2 passes. It'd be very easy to break a bit this small. The whole process took about an hour and a half to carve the relief. With the carving complete, I take some flat black acrylic paint and just paint the whole thing, making sure I get into every single little crevice. Once the top portion of the paint has dried, I start to sand away the paint using a very fine sanding sponge. You can see the inside where the actual carving was, there's still a little bit of wetness on the paint. It probably should have waited because it's kind of picking up anything that goes down into it. But I think all in all, it's probably might add to the rustic look. So we'll see how she turns out. The finished carving turned out better than I thought it would. I'll probably experiment with some other materials and try to determine what looks best. Ultimately, it'll be my daughter who makes the decision what we use. So I'll post some pictures and probably some follow-up videos. So until then, thanks for watching.